Welcome back to the Money Script Podcast. It's your host, Yohance Harrison. So happy to be with each and every one of you today. Hey to everybody that's out there on YouTube. It's so exciting to be on YouTube now. We're real. We're both real. We're here. I know it's been a little while. I thank you for all of your messages, all the shouts out on Twitter and the like. I was at a conference, and what else did I do? I did my taxes. There was a few things that I was doing, and I also had a couple of reschedules. There were a few people where I think they were doing their taxes, or something came up. So we're back, and I'm excited today because I have the unique pleasure of meeting with someone else that's in the industry. You guys know I like to talk to other folks in the industry because we all have the same mission. As I said before, we don't look at each other as competition. No, we're not competition. The competition are all the things that you like to spend your money on. Our competition is inflation. Our competition is you not knowing how the match works on your 401k. That's our true competition. So we're here to actually help everyone become more financially literate. We're going to do it one podcast, one YouTube at a time. So I want to start where I usually do. I forgot. If this is your first time, this is a financial literacy podcast. We're here to help you learn more about how to do better with your finances. And of course, shout out to all of the students that I met last week in San Francisco, all the medical students. Thanks for jumping on to the podcast so that you can learn more about your finances as you're also learning how to save lives. So I'm a financial planner. I've been in financial planning for 22 years. That's fun to say, 22 years now. I'm actually finally old enough that I got an exemption on one of my continuing educations. They're like, you've had it long enough. You don't have to do that one anymore. I didn't know if I should be excited or feel old. I felt old, but I was excited. So nonetheless, I want to just start off where we normally do. Let's talk just a little bit about what's going on just in the economy, in the markets today. Well, the first thing you've probably heard, it is officially October. Whenever you're listening to this, maybe it's not October, but for us, it is officially October. We're all getting ready for Halloween, and we got spooked with some good news last month that we're going to have, well, most of us that are under certain brackets are going to have our income levels are going to have some of our debt paid off. That's right. The federal government is going to forgive some loans for a lot of Americans out there. There's certain criteria that you have to meet. All the details are going to be on the financialaid.gov. We'll put it in the show notes. There's so many websites in my head, I forget them. We'll put it in the show notes, but make sure you go and get the information you need to see if you qualify. Last I checked, the application's not out yet. Maybe by the time you're hearing this, application is out. And the deadline for the application is December 31st of this year, unless they extend it. I did log onto the site day one and it crashed. Of course it did. It's a government website. Speaking of government, there is a government website that got a nice little refresh last week because of the billions of dollars, the highest amount that they've ever had that Americans have poured into Series I bonds. And that's that safer investment that we talked about where you can loan your money to the federal government for 1 year. And they're going to pay you, if you do it by the end of October, they're going to pay you 9.62% for the first 6 months. Not too shabby. There's really nothing else out there like it right now that can produce that same amount of guaranteed return. Now, after the first 6 months, yes, the rate will change. We'll find out what that rate will be sometime later this month. More than likely, it's going to be around the same amount, but I don't know. But let's just call that. I don't know. But if I look at some of the data that's out there, it's like inflation's still pretty high. So it's probably going to be around the same amount. So if you haven't had the chance to research whether or not I bonds are a good place for some of your investments, for some of your money, or maybe you want to start a little account for a child or grandchild, we'll put the link to that in the show notes as well. And then I have to just talk about the bombshell that came out the other day. Just walking around and all of a sudden I get the alert that apparently the federal government is starting to change their stance on marijuana, finally. And Biden had pretty interesting comments about it. So if you haven't seen that yet, I encourage you to go check them out. But we're going to have, I think the last count was around 6,300 or 6,500 Americans that are going to have pardons for their marijuana possession I think it's the lowest level of marijuana possession on the federal, will have those pardons. So that's good news for those individuals. Hopefully there's nothing else on their record. And that means it's going to open them up to be able to re-enter into the workforce and remove some of the stigmatism. He also called on governors to do the same, and for our government to look at reclassifying marijuana. So for those of you that I know it's a lot of you out there, because I hear questions about it. You have some of those marijuana stocks and marijuana investments. Maybe for once they might go in a different direction than they have for the last 3 years. But who knows? Now, just because the government makes it legal doesn't mean it's going to make money. So let's remember that. So, all right. So with that, no further ado, I want to get to our guest today. We have in the studio with us Mac Gardner. He is a fellow CFP, certified financial planner. I can't wait to join you. Also, he is a minority CFP. There's not a lot of us out there. Actually, one just started working for our firm. We just picked up I shouldn't say picked up. We didn't pick him up, but he joined the firm. We have a new member of the team. Will Golston, shout out to you. Thanks for joining us. He also is a brother and a CFP and a CFA. There's something there.
Oh, that's a combo. That's an even smaller combo right there. I think
yeah.
Literally about a handful of those.
Yeah, I told him he is probably in the 0.01%.
Yeah. Keith Beverly literally is the only other one that I know. He owns his own firm on the East Coast.
So funny thing. So let's talk about this whole. We're just going to dive in. Mac, say hello to the people. Let's dive in. But
hey, folks,
let's talk about the CFP thing first, because I'm a college student now. Shout out to Morehouse. I'm in their online cohort of students that launched last year. Actually, as of last night, I'm a junior. Okay, had some credits clear last night. So thank you. So hopefully I can get. I'm gonna try to do the next 2 years in one. So I'll sleep in 2024 after I cross the stage. We're like, oh, you just got your degree. What are you going to do? Take a nap. So one of the things that just grinds me a bit about the lack of minorities that have their CFP or that have advanced designations, period, in the financial services field, is that here in Dallas, I Googled Black CFP.
Did college football come up? Please don't tell me.
No, worse. No, worse.
Oh, Lord.
Worse than that. The first listing is a gentleman whose last name is Black. He is a CFP,
but
he is not black.
Yeah. I could. Yeah, that's problematic.
So being that I'm in the Dallas area, it is my intention to change that.
Yes.
I'm going to make
top
sure
of that search list.
Since nobody else. Now, if there are other Black CFPs out there and you're hearing this, well, if you're actually hearing this, by all means, you may have the top ranking until I get mine.
Until you get yours.
Because I have a special piggy bank I'm just saving up for to make sure that that goes at the top. And Mr. Black out there, you're cool. This is nothing against you.
Yeah.
And you are a Black. You're just,
but not the
Black.
No, I think that's a great way to open up our conversation. Because I have been blessed to have been in this business for 20 plus years. I like to say I'm old enough to be respected, but young enough to be relevant. So
writing that one down.
Trust me, I got a bunch of what I call Mac nuggets that I like to share with people, but I have
Mac
been
nuggets. That one is good. I might even say I'm using a Mac nugget here.
By all means. I started off my career in retail banking, really blessed to have worn a lot of hats in this business, banking, investment management, commercial corporate lending, trust administration, advanced markets, high net worth, ultra high net worth. I've been really blessed. And what really triggered a lot of stuff for me to start writing and really start focusing on financial literacy, my first book is titled Motivate Your Money. And I wrote that because I was working in a field with very, very wealthy people that had little to no financial planning or financial literacy education or knowledge. And it was just mind-blowing. And so that's why I wrote the first book. And then my second book, which is a children's book called The Four Money Bears, I wrote that one because one of my clients is on the board of an organization called Jack and Jill.
Oh, I know
And
Jack and Jill. I
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. She was on the board in Houston.
they've been courting my daughter for a little while.
And it's a phenomenal organization. And she said, Mac, love the Mac Nuggets, love what you wrote for adults. Would you be open to writing something for children? And so that's when we wrote the Four Money Bears book, to really provide parents with young children of all backgrounds a fun and entertaining way to start the conversation about money. Because if you never got it as a parent, how can you give it to your children? So,
well,
that's how you talking
right.
about this is good stuff.
Yeah, no, you're right. A lot of our parents did not receive it from their parents, and their parents not from their parents, especially if you are a minority in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go back far enough, you hit that slavery wall where you did not have access.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And even if you go right past that, you have one of the greatest bank failures in United States history, when many newly free slaves were encouraged to put their money into a bank, and the bank raised millions of dollars in capital and lost it all.
They were gone.
Yeah. And it was gone. Yeah. Like the South Park episode, my favorite one, when Kenny goes to invest his money. Not Kenny. What's the other name? Kyle, whichever one. Research South Park and it's gone. One of the best. Anytime the market is going down and it's just been one of those days, I just have to go watch and it's gone, and I feel better. Because I'm like, at least it's not happening like that. But yeah, it was gone. One of the greatest bank failures in history. And that incident, my father was he was born in the 40s, and so his elders taught him to not trust the banks. Because they were the ones that actually lost their money in the banks.
Yeah.
So that stayed with him until I started working for a bank, and I was like, Dad, come on, let me show you. He's not like that anymore.
SIPC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like SIPC,
we have insurance.
FDIC, and still, it was very hard to get him to have, because it was deeply ingrained and instilled. It became part of his money script. That was his script.
Yeah.
No, don't trust the banks.
Yeah. And the cultural aspect of all the things that build up a person culturally feeds into a lot of the behavioral aspects that pan out into how they deal with money. So, yeah, the space that I started a company called Finlet Tech. Our mission is to build a bridge between financial literacy and financial technology, because there's a bunch of financial literacy and knowledge out there, right? But there's not a lot of fintech that focuses on the knowledge aspect. Like I can use my phone and get a loan. I can do some investing.
I can throw away some money fast.
We can do lots of things. There's
we do
fintech for it. But
there's
nothing out there that deals with education. And I think at the core of what we're doing as financial literacy influencers, advisors, whatever you want to call it, it's really education. I think education is important, and I think starting the education process early.
Absolutely. So let's talk about these bears. I know Goldilocks and the Three Bears, but that story doesn't have anything to do with money. I guess it could. I guess you could make some money relations, but we'll do that another time. Let's talk about the Four Money Bears. So can you tell us who the Four Money Bears are? I assume they each have a role.
They do. And so in my first book, in Motivate Your Money, I talk about these 5 steps to financial success. And these were steps that, as I worked in the wealth management, financial planning space over the years, there were the steps that people were taking. And then all of a sudden when they got to retirement, they had money in their accounts. They grew some wealth. They had assets to be able to pass on. And the first step is to plan accordingly. So you got to have a plan, some sort of financial plan.
Hold on. Okay, everybody go grab, pause. Grab your financial journals. For those that have them, grab your journal and go ahead and write down these Mac Nuggets.
There we go. Get it. Step 1, plan accordingly. You have to have a plan, right? Step 2, spend cautiously. If you overspend, guess what? You can't move on to step 3, which is to save diligently. Okay. Once you've spent cautiously, you save diligently, guess what? You actually have assets where you can invest wisely.
I knew there was another LY coming in there. Okay.
And then the last one is to give generously.
Ooh, they
And
are
you can,
all LYs.
you
Okay.
got to. And so now I like to say to folks, you can give at any point in time in your life. But what we find is that once you have your personal family, all those situations sort of taken care of, it's a lot easier to give generously. And that's, you often see philanthropists doing that. So those 5 steps of financial success, when we were looking at a platform to engage young people and engage children, I was like, okay, the book is literally the story of me and my wife teaching our kids about money. And in our house, I'm Papa Bear, my wife's Mama Bear, and we have our 3 baby bears. So I said, okay, let's look at these 4 functions of money and let's create characters where young people can understand that they actually have 4 options when it comes to their money when they get it, and not just the 2 that most young people are familiar with, which is the spending and saving. So we created these 4 money bears: spender bear, saver bear, investor bear, and giver bear. And the whole idea is for these bears to teach kids the pros and cons of each function, at the end to budget and work together. And when they all work together, they can have happy, successful, healthy spending habits, which become behaviors, which then become traits.
Shout out to your marketing department, because I'm not going to be able to think about Build a Bear without thinking about Spend a Bear, Save a Bear,
Save a bear,
invest a bear,
spend, save,
give
invest, give. Yeah. We're actually talking to them. We're in the talks with the Build a Bear company.
Ooh.
Oh, we're building an app right now called the 4 Money Bears Berryville. It's going to be ready by Q2, hopefully latest Q3 of next year. We're when I tell you, Yohance, that we are so fortunate. I wrote this book 5-6 years ago. We have global book sales: Germany, France, UK, South Africa, and it's only in English.
Hey,
yeah,
money everywhere.
But not just money.
And that's what I talk about this podcast. That's what I share with people. So yeah, we may talk a lot about what's happening in America, but this is a psychological,
it's a global issue,
relationship that we have with our money, and it's everywhere, because unless you are an indigenous individual still living off the earth, cut off from electricity and all of the other stuff, then everybody else, you're affected by it.
Yes,
because you're a part of this global village that we have in our relationship with money, the excesses and the lacks that all come with it. And we're all, I mean, whether we're dealing with hyperinflation or deflation or whatever, and everything in between, we're all dealing with it.
Whether you have a scarcity perspective or an abundance perspective, it's funny. I joke around. I tell people, I say, people care what you look like, people care what you sound like, people care where you're from. Money doesn't. Money's just a tool.
Just a tool.
But if you know how to use that tool and you understand the functionality and the potential power that it has over time, those who understand it are the ones who are going to be able to benefit from it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Agreed. And that is again why this podcast is here. This is a brand new resource for you, everyone. Okay. Especially for those that have children's one. That's a question I get all the time. Hey, I'm trying to figure out, how do I start talking to my kids about money? I was doing some research a few years ago about the tough conversations. And I found out, I think it was Prudential had did this. They spent lots of money on asking all these pre-retirees and retirees about their fears when it comes to money. And one of the things that came up was talking about it with their kids. And talking about money with their kids had a higher fear, anxiety level than talking about death and sex.
Yep. I saw that study. Fascinating.
Absolutely fascinating. It blew. I was like, really? And I think it was because I'd been a financial advisor for about a decade by the time I came across it. And I was like, oh, people don't like talk. And I had to start thinking about my own upbringing. I was like, oh, wait, we didn't talk about money. Yeah. We talked about Bruno more than we talked about money. Because we all had Brunos in our family. But we didn't talk about money. Yeah. Money that's the real song. We don't talk about money. No.
No. Yeah, when you look at the psychology of it, it's really fascinating. I talk about the socialization of lots of things in life, and how when you socialize things from an early age, language, religion, food, right? Those things that get socialized from an early age become who you are become your culture. Finances is not one of them. But here's the crazy thing. There was a Cambridge study done a few years ago that shows that a child's connectivity with money starts as early as age 7.
Yep. Saw the
As a
same
7.
thing. Mm-hmm.
As a 7.
7. Yep.
Some as
Mm-hmm.
early as age 5. So
Mm-hmm.
think about it. Right now, there are 15 states that require financial literacy for high school graduation by your senior year. And
We
you're
have the
typically
same Google search algorithms. Okay, keep going. Go
yeah.
ahead.
So,
Go
so,
ahead.
so
Mm-hmm.
think about this. If you are fortunate to be in one of the 15 states that has it by when you're 17, 18, but studies show that your money habits start forming when you're age 7, that's a 10-year gap
So
of
10
either
years of
no
bad
information
habits.
or misinformation or bad habits about what
Yep.
to do with money. And so that's why we are really, really big advocates of. We know there's a ton of education out there. We think there's a formula to this whole financial wellness that everyone's trying to get to. The formula is financial literacy. Got to have it. Got to have the knowledge. Totally understand. But you must also have the financial capability. You've got to give people the tools, in order to be able to get and implement all this knowledge. And so that's what our company, Finland Tech, does. And we're starting it off by building a gamified solution based on the book.
So what age do you recommend the book for?
So it's a K through 5 engagement. So
Okay.
some kids as young as age 5 all the way to 10, 11 years old, we find that 4th, 5th graders are better with the math and are better with grasping some of the concepts of investing. I do a $100 bill challenge. I started doing this when I'd go to schools and I start talking about finances. I'm like, okay, how am I going to get these little kids to be quiet and sit down? So I'll pull out a $100 bill. I'm like, if I give you this $100 bill, what would you do? And hands start flying up in the air. I'm like, oh, I'd buy this and I'd buy that. And what it became was an actual experiment to prove to people that children are conditioned to consume from a very early age. And a lot of times I talk about the 3 R's of our connection with money. We realize what money is, you recognize what it does, then you start rationalizing how to use it. But if you get to that recognition stage and it's only bound by 2 options, you don't realize you've got these other options. How can you rationalize it and do all these other great things?
Which is why I'm sure in your profession as mine, as we meet people, they say, where were you 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago? Because they had no concept of some of the things that we bring to the table. So speaking of young age, with that, all of our guests, there's some research that I'm doing because, like you, I intend to be an author one day. And so I'm gathering stories from individuals because I am a firm believer that we all are impressed by money at a very early age. Like you mentioned, the Cambridge researcher saying as early as age 7. And I'm also, in the questions I've been asking of people, I find out that sometimes it's even earlier for some people, especially if you have siblings and you see some of what they're going through, or if you come from a family that went through some struggles. Sometimes those struggles started a lot. You became aware of the struggle a lot earlier.
Yep.
So the question I have for you, sir, is what is your first memory of money?
My first memory was a very formalized one, and I'll tell you why. From Caribbean background, dad was born in Antigua, my mom was born in Haiti. Dad went to Howard for his undergrad and then went to NYU for his MBA, and was a bank executive for years. And I, clear as day, remember my dad sitting down with me and literally taking a piece of paper and writing a T-chart and writing assets on one side, liabilities on the other side, and then another T-chart, and it was cash flow, income, and expenses. And so it's so funny when you look back on how you get to where you are, and a lot of times it's not by accident. But my dad had a formal background in finance and sat down with me at a really, really young age and was like,
you were one of the lucky ones.
See, all we are, Yohance, at the end of our day, and I tell people this, and I truly believe it, in our heart of hearts is a collection of stories.
Yes.
All we are.
That's it.
And
So
if you're
money itself is a collection of stories.
stories,
That's it.
how you manage it, what you do with it. So our kids, you say you have a daughter, right? Is that what you said?
I have a daughter and a son. So I have a son, a senior in college, and a kindergartner.
Okay. So your kids, our kids, they're going to be fortunate. They're going to hear stories about 401ks and IRAs and stocks and bonds and what to do with all blah, blah, blah. 95%, if not higher, children will not get any of those stories.
Nope.
And so that's why we created this For Money Bear book, to start changing narratives in homes in underserved and overlooked communities, and then step it up even higher by developing this app that we can leverage technology to get to places so that narratives and stories in homes can change.
Man, I love it. Thank you for all of the work that you're doing. We can't wait to join the mission with you. I'm already thinking about, we just had parent teacher conferences today. So with the kindergartner, of course, and everything's great. It was, it's a formality if nothing else, but in my mind, as I'm sitting there and they're talking about the concepts they're learning, money wasn't on the sheet of paper. I didn't say anything out loud, but that's I'm retching in my stomach. Like,
y'all can't do
if you're going to teach, you could at least teach the coins. Why can't the coins be in there? She's 5. She knows what money is. Believe me.
You will appreciate this because you're in Texas. So when I wrote the book, we were living in Houston. I bought the book to my kids' school. They were in elementary school at the time. And I gave it to the principal. She started flipping through it. She's like, Mac, do you know what you have on your hands here? I'm like, book to start teaching elementary kids about money. She said, Texas has these TEKs, these I guess requirements. And the state of Texas is starting to, or may have started already, to introduce financial literacy at some point in time in their curriculum earlier than high school. And she's like, Mac, there's nothing like this out there. This was 5-6 years ago. And so we have some tailwinds behind us. More states are starting to realize that it's important and that the onus kind of falls upon the state, the education system, to provide this. But there's still so much work to be done. So much work.
So speaking of work, you have an app that's coming next year. We have the 4 Money Bears. I'm sure they can get that wherever books are sold.
Amazon, like you can buy pretty much everything nowadays.
All right. I'll make sure to create a QR code for that. So I get a little credit for pushing your book along.
Thank you.
That'll be in the show notes. Let's see. And then you have your first book, Motivate Your Money, also wherever books
also
are
on Amazon.
Yeah. I look forward. Now, have you created a audio book yet?
We've created an audio book for the 4 Money Bears. So you can actually go to YouTube and you can play that at your leisure. We're actually working on the next project at Finland Tech is to develop a multimedia financial education platform with a diverse, equitable, and inclusive focus titled Motivate Your Money. And so we're in the process of interviewing CFPs, financial advisors, so on and so forth. Because
was this my interview?
See?
Who's interviewing here?
You didn't realize it.
You didn't realize it.
No, but interestingly enough, some of the input that we're getting from financial institutions is that the financial education, financial literacy contents out there is Byzantine. It is old, it is boring, it is stale, and it is male, pale, and stale. It is run by older white men.
For everyone, for all of my FinTwit community out there, y'all know I went through some continuing education at the beginning of the year that I had to do, and I was a little late on getting it done, so I was cramming. And the vendor that I chose is the largest vendor of financial continuing education in the country. And out of the 15 or so modules that I did, it was very old and pale. I started screenshotting. I said, "You've got to be kidding me!" And then the few times that they would depict someone that was making poor money decisions, they were always female or ethnic. I was like, this is just and the drawings had to be from like 1972.
Oh,
I'm like,
dude.
come on. You
The
updated everything
Byzantine,
else. Can't you just
archaic.
I
It's
was like, you
crazy.
could have given me Bart Simpson characters at this point. I would have
Yeah,
felt a little bit better.
yeah. So
Whew.
you're living it, brother. And
Oh yeah, I'm
so
living it. I'm living it. Yeah, no,
we're
I fired a marketing company. I had a marketing company that I started working with to do my newsletters. And they said, here, you can customize this and we'll do the templates. And so I started with them because I was early on. I was like, all right, yeah, I need something. So I'll go with this. And so I wound up calling. I was like, hey, so I'm a Black financial advisor,
yeah.
and a lot of my clients look like me. So I was wondering if there's a way that the marketing can look like me too.
Yeah. Do
We'll
you
get
have any
back to you on
tanned
that.
white people?
I know, right? We'll get back to you on that.
Never
About
got back.
90 days goes by. I get back to him, and I wind up getting the VP of marketing, and she started apologizing in ways you would never believe. And she said, "You're right. This needs to be fixed. We've got to fix this." And she's like, "We don't have a fix for it yet." Because I also asked, "Well, can you make it so I can change out the images?" And they're like, "The technology doesn't allow that." I said, "You're fired."
So just to let you know, there's a company here in Tampa that is creating diverse, equitable, inclusive stock photograph and stock. Yeah.
So the
Collateral
decision I made, so I wound up going to another company. The decision I made,
Yeah.
is that I have a beautiful family and a beautiful team. So we do photo shoots 4 times a year.
There you go.
And I have a zero stock policy now for website. There's just still a few things in the marketing campaigns where like the landing page, I can't change that yet. But every other image, like, nope, it's gonna be us.
Yeah, smart.
It's gonna be us. Like, yeah.
So we're working to make a big change where we want the face of financial education to be representative of the actual society that we're in, which is this huge melting pot with people of different backgrounds, different cultures, so on and so forth. So we're working on lots of cool stuff. So more to come.
I'm excited. Well, I'm glad. I don't even know how we found you, or how we found each other, but I'm glad we're here. You clicked the link. You scheduled it. We found each other somewhere, but this is exciting. All right. So we've talked about your current projects. Oh, where do we find you? The Instagram or YouTube? Tell us about that.
So Twitter is Mac Gardner _ CFP. Instagram, you can find me either the 4 Money Bears or Finlit Tech. And then you can also go to our website, www.the4moneybears.com. It's spelled out THEFOUMONERBERS. And you can actually download the demo of the app and kick the tires and play a little bit.
I will be kicking some tires.
Please do. And you can buy the book there as well. So we're on this mission again to build a bridge between financial literacy and financial technology, and anything that we can do to help more people.
Man, I'm pumped. I'm excited. I'm excited. How did we say it earlier? What was yours? I said if that doesn't get your fire burning, your wood is wet. You had another one.
Oh, which is the one that I had? The old enough. The old enough.
There was another one you had. I forgot it.
Oh, okay. If I remember before our time is up, but usually when people ask what I'm doing, I say I'm doing what I got to do to get what I got to get.
I know that one. Stay ready, ain't got to get ready. Let's get it.
Get ready.
All right. So awesome. Thank you, Mac, for spending some time with us today. We can't wait to have you on the show again. Make sure you check out all the links in our show notes so you can get your hands on the 4 Money Bears, so you can learn more about the Motivate Your Money. Speaking of Motivate Your Money, hey, by the way, I have a huge announcement for future shows, you guys. Listen, okay, the most amazing thing happened. So I told y'all I'm in school, right? So I took this law class. When I took this law class, I learned about fair use. I learned some things about fair use that I did not know. So I have now created a whole show going back to motivating your money. I've talked before about my money motivation playlist. Okay. By the way, there's another company out there called Money Motivation. They do graphic tees and sweatshirts. Good friend of mine. I'll connect the two of you because I think you guys can do some collaboration. He's killing it right now. Like, awesome. He's also a Black financial professional as well. We used to work together some time back. Anyhow, we are going to be breaking down the financial literacy and the lack thereof in hip hop music.
Ooh.
I'm a huge hip hop fan.
Okay. Watch out now.
And I'll tell you what, if you tried to do a search, those little word things that tell you how often something is talked about, and you were to go across all of hip hop, you're going to find that money is going to be
pretty big one.
Big. It's going to be a big one that's in there.
Pretty pervasive.
But really, they just talk about making it, spending it.
You ready for it?
Rarely saving it, rarely investing it.
I'm going to hit you with
Go ahead, Mac. What you got for me?
I'm going to hit you with one. The issue that we see very often when it comes to personal finances, is people focus on the fruits and not the roots. Hip hop, Hip hop focuses on the fruits,
and not just the fruits. No, they focus on the fruits that spoil the quickest. So not like a nice firm apple is going to be for a while. No, they focus on some strawberries.
Yeah, just things
a banana
that
that's going to be, but just
have any value, depreciating assets. When the focus could be on the roots, and that is the education, that is the knowledge of the solutions, knowledge of the process. And it's so funny you say that, man. I would love whenever that project takes off.
I've been curating it for a few weeks now. So I've now categorized into we're gonna play some songs, some snippets of some songs that are just bad. We're gonna also play some ones that are kind of middle of the road, but I've found some gems. Awesome. There are some gems out there. And the sad thing is about a lot of the gems, they don't make it to the Billboard charts.
Yep. So it doesn't get mass play.
They don't make it. So we want to make sure that we highlight some of those artists, and not just Jay-Z, because everybody, for those of you that are hip hop fans, you probably think, you can just do the whole 444 album. I'm like, I can, but I can also go back to his first album, and he was not on that level. Mm-hmm. He was Money Ain't a Thing. Him and Jermaine Dupri, they said money ain't a thing. They're throwing it all over the place. Okay. But he maturated over time, because we also know, and just give you all of you some tidbits of some of the things we'll explore. When he talks about on the 444, he could have bought a place in Dumbo when it was 2 million. Now it's 20 million, whatever. I forgot the math problem he says. And now I'm looking at myself, Dumbo. We're going to explore that. We're going to explore him and Beyonce's album when they did The Boss. He said, you ain't a boss, you got a boss.
Let me know, man. Let me know when that comes up.
I'll make sure that I curate an episode just for you, and we'll go and we'll take a look at 5 songs and look for the financial literacy in those songs, and make sure that people can look to something that they love, that's something that's so careless and carefree, and actually get something out of it. So with that, Mac, thank you so much for joining the show. Everyone, of course, love us. I think YouTube, I'm learning my buttons here. Subscribe. There's a button. There's a button somewhere around here. There's a button. Press it. It says subscribe, so that you'll get the other YouTubes. For those of us that are still listening, if you're especially my whole crew, my truckers that are out there on the road, my students that are out there studying so hard, keep listening, share it with a friend, and pick up this book about the 4 barriers. By the way, he said it's the 4 money barriers. He said it's K through 5. If you've already achieved K through 5, it doesn't mean you can't learn from it.
And a lot of parents have actually thanked us for not making it too kiddie, because
I'm confident. And so I encourage all of us to have some fun with this. And Mac, thanks again for being a friend of the show. We look forward to having you back. And who knows, maybe I'll get to loan my voice to something you're working on in the near future.
That's going to happen, man. Hey, I like to say the financial life journey is a long one, right? Thankfully, you have amazing clients and amazing people that you help to impact. And what motivates you motivates your money, man. Journey continues.
With that, we'll see you next time right here on the Money Script Podcast. Y'all take care. Thanks for joining us on the Money Script Podcast. Be sure to check out our other episodes, subscribe, follow, and give us 5 stars. Continue to send your financial questions on Twitter or Instagram at The Money Script. Go to moneyscriptwealth.com and schedule your complimentary consultation to discuss your specific goals and concerns. Financial advisory and investment management services are offered by Money Script Wealth Management PLLC, a registered investment advisory firm registered in the state of Texas and California and other states where exempt. The Money Script LLC and the Money Script Wealth Management PLLC and guests of the episode may have interest in the investments mentioned today. The opinions and views are expressed here are for informational purposes only. This material is educational in nature and should not be deemed as a solicitation for any specific product or service. All investments involve risk and a significant loss of principal. The MoneyScript nor MoneyScript Wealth Management offer tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney for specific advice about your situation. Until next time.